Hello and welcome to the Expansion Chamber episode 15. I'm your host, Donkey Defense, and today I'm joined by Pete and Brett. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Oh yeah, hi, Pete of TFN 15 on YouTube and newly minted gun store owner. Huh?
Congratulations. I am Brett of Nightwood Guns on YouTube, and it's a YouTube channel where YouTube stuff happens and videos are occurring.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice.
I feel like I had to draw it out a little more.
So you had to somehow compete with newly minted gun owner
Exactly.
or gun
Yeah.
shop owner.
I had to throw that in there because I'm freaking so stoked and I'm so close to opening. We just have a shenanigan with our NICS system here because New York has its own NICS. Very lame. But it's like they can't even get that right. Where like I sent them all my paperwork. Should be 24 hours to get the portal. You're good. And it's been a week. So
Is that like how you do like 4473s?
yeah, basically, it's like New York doesn't even like want a 4473 anymore. The ATF's not good enough.
With their
So
unconstitutional gun licenses that were now ruled unconstitutional in Maryland?
ooh.
Actually, why don't we talk about that? Just
Sure.
recently, a court ruled that gun licenses are unconstitutional. You cannot have a license or a permit to own a pistol.
And that's
At all.
anywhere?
No, that was in a court in Maryland, I believe.
Is it a high court or a like a court that will get slammed by their state high court? You know what I mean?
I think it's a court it'll like probably end up jumping up to the Supreme Court. Let me see if I can find some more prepared, but that just popped in my head.
Because that would be hella dope. Come into the shop and like leave with the gun that day. By the way, okay, so let me just tell you guys what it's like to buy a pistol in New York. First of all, if you live, let's say you live on Long Island, right? If you live in one county, which is Suffolk County, it's going to be a year to an 18-month wait just to get your pistol permit. You have to be permitted, right? And then in Suffolk, which is the neighboring county, let's say it's 6 months or so. And you have to come in for an interview. You have to have 4 references, all notarized. Each affidavit has to be notarized. And each person has to like swear that you're amazing. And none of them can be a cop. And none of them can be in your family. And none of them can live with you. And none of them can be related to you by marriage or anything like that. So there's that, right? And then when you finally come to the store and you say to me, hey, I'd love to buy that. I'd love to buy that Bull Armory 2011 right there. Yes, Brett. They say, I say now the role is, oh, okay, can I see your pistol permit? If they don't have a pistol permit from the state of New York, can't even show them the gun. Can't even take it out of the thing and show it and say, look, this is a gun. Like, you can't even look at the gun. And then if they do have a pistol permit, I go, oh, I have to check it, make sure it's not expired, whatever. And then I can hand them the gun for them to look at. And then if they want to buy it, cool. They pay for it. They go through a background check. And let's say they pass with flying colors. Now they have to take a disposition paper that I give them and go to their Suffolk County or Nassau County PD pistol section, they're called. Put the gun on their permit, literally, like it has to say like Bull Armory code, serial ABC 1234556, right? And then bring it back to me. I have to verify that against the gun, and then they can pick it up. So it could be like a 2-day process, to buy a gun. You have to take like a day off of work to buy a gun in New York.
Make it a holiday.
Yeah. So like, if you're wondering why the hell I did this, it's because just selling guns and just being a part of like trying, like, there's all kinds of court cases going on in New York. Like I'm down, like just being here. If we weren't here, like it would be way worse for those people who are looking to arm and defend themselves. And we have a lot. I mean, the stores, like I've already made like 2 sales and I haven't even opened yet. I just wait till my NICS comes through before those guys can come pick up their guns. So, dude, we have a real serious gun culture in New York, and it's just being hampered by the state. And that is, I think we're gonna win. I really do, because little by little we keep chipping away, little by little, like getting the concealed carry permits, and all that this year was such a big win. But that's the process. And that I don't understand, like when you talk about unconstitutional, How does that even? I mean, like, I'm stoked for Maryland. It's going to be years before that's decided, right? Like,
Well, so let me pull up the article right here. So Maryland, this was from the 21st, so just last week.
nice.
Maryland handgun license law is unconstitutional in U.S. court rules. It was the Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on a 2-1 vote blocked enforcement of a 2013 Maryland law that requires people to undergo training and background checks before applying for licenses by handguns, saying it violated the right to keep and bear arms in the U.S. Constitution. Maryland has not shown that this regime is consistent with our nation's historical tradition of firearms regulation. Blah, blah, blah. It was a Donald Trump appointed judge. So, the Maryland law, an additional preliminary step that subjected law abiding people to a 30-day waiting period before they could begin the usual process to acquire a firearm through a separate background check system. So, I guess it was an NRA backed lawsuit. So, once again, the NRA actually being useful. But essentially, yeah, saying you can't have, for reason of a video here of Elon Musk dancing.
Look at the person protesting against gun rights, saying, "Am I next?" With like the no NRA and no.
I mean, if she lives in like the right neighborhood, it's possible she'll get shot in a gang shooting. But you know,
am I next? It's such. What a weird like straw man, like what a fake argument, what a nut. Like, I don't know what the right terminology is, right? But how many people are
useful
shot?
Idiot?
Yeah, but I mean, how many people are shot with like legal handguns versus, obviously we don't have to go through all that, like, but this propaganda, this is what's winning the country. And the useful idiots, like the low vibrational frequency smooth brains that are in most college campuses.
Moves across her forehead. Smooth brain.
It's an indicator. She doesn't have a forehead, bro. She's got like a 6 head. Anyway, like
it makes a triangle right here.
But it's
Illuminati confirmed,
dude. That's the kind of propaganda we're up against, right? Like, I'm just waiting for the first protest outside of my store, and I welcome it. Like, I can't wait. Like, it's gonna be great, but like, it's silly. It's silly, like. We used to have a permitting, like this store that would like help you with your permitting process, like fill out your papers for you for a fee. And I went in there one day just to check them out way back in the day. And as I was coming out, like, cause it was called Edelman's Pistol Service, licensing service. And as I was coming out, this little girl screamed at me out of the back seat of her mom's car. "Don't buy guns. They're bad for you. You're a bad man." I was like, I'm buying 3 of them. But yeah, that's what we're up against, boys.
Yeah, I think the culture is shifting, and I think that's a good thing. They're losing that part of the culture war, and that's kind of, their lockdowns and everything with COVID backfired on them, because when everyone's fighting over toilet paper and the police aren't showing up, you kind of realize that you're on your own, and you just look at the place like Beverly Hills, filled with the absolute liberal elite and, actors and actresses, celebrities. All of a sudden, they are all arming up like crazy during COVID. And something that people like us understand is once you have the ability to say no to somebody, like, I want your butthole, or I want your wallet, or I want your family, or I want to, hurt you. And you can say, actually, no. You're not going to be doing that today. And if you do, then you're not going to be doing anything ever again. Once you have that power, the power of freedom, you don't want to give it up, because once you know the empowerment that being able to defend yourself against harm, once you know that feeling, you have that security, you have that empowerment, you never want to give it up. So the fact that we have so many new gun owners and more and more and more every day, once you have it, the vast majority of people aren't going to want to give it up. So that's why we're seeing such a cultural shift in this, and they're losing, and they know it.
You couldn't have put it better, because that is literally the living, breathing experience that I'm having here in New York, Brett. When I told people a while back I was opening a gun shop, everyone was like, "Oh my God, that's so great. We need more guns. And we only have this one, and we only have that one." And there's plenty of gun shops. It's just that they just can't get enough, and they want to see what I bring to the table because of my background, and they understand that I'm into more tactical stuff and night vision and gear and kit and nylon, and everyone's like, oh wow, what else will you have? I'm like, oh, I'll have storable food, water filtration, all that cool stuff, right? And everyone's like, oh, that is so awesome, I'm gonna come hang out at the shop. Added to which they messed up with me because they were not expecting a guy who was going to open up a store with like a lounge in it and a 65-inch screen and with access to every movie, like every John Wick or Lethal Weapon or whatever you want to watch, right? And like, come hang out. You want to get away from your old lady for a couple of hours, or if you're the old lady that wants to get away from her man for a couple of hours, come hang out, sit on the couch, play with some guns, talk to other people.
As long as you have a pistol permit.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever.
For now.
For now. But no, listen, man, sheerly existing and having the name on the store is called Good Guys Guns and Ammo Long Island. Having that Good Guys Guns and Ammo across and on the marquee of my store and people seeing it, they're like, you got to see heads turn, man, because I'm right next door to this place called the Greek Grill, and people are coming in and out of there all day getting their food, and people are just like, oh wow. And the dudes are like, they're looking to see what's on the shelves. It's kind of empty right now. I'm just starting to get my shipments in. And the women, like, there's two types. And it's like the kind that are like, oh, no, a gun, right, there you go. Good Guys, Guns and Ammo, LI on Instagram, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to get beefier on the Instagram. Right now, it's very thin. Anyway, the long and short of it is everyone's interested. Everyone's like concerned, interested, wants to see, wants to know. And Brett, you can't have two things, Brett. You cannot have what went down during COVID, total lawlessness with the paid for riots and legally allowed riots that we had, and a defunding of the police without this type of reaction.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. It totally backfired on them. They were not expecting that at all. But that human urge of they lost. Well, one, it unveiled just the false sense of security that they were being offered by police who won't show up for in a best case scenario 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. Think about what somebody can do to you for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. And in a worst case scenario, hours and sometimes even days.
Or just never at all.
Yeah, or never at all, right? So once that, the veil was taken back, you saw the man behind the curtains working the levers, and you realized
the almighty powerful Oz was just a man.
Yeah, exactly. It was just a dude, and nobody is there to protect you, and nobody is there to stop lawlessness, and nobody cares about protecting you.
Nope.
If you want to be protected, you have to protect yourself.
Well, I think a big thing as well is I think they tried to take a playbook out of like big tyrants and dictators, right? Your Hitlers, your Stalins, whatever, where they can just do something overnight.
Yep.
Because you have a different population. For one, we are a much different population than anyone else, and we have the information age, right? The president or whoever can say something, and I can verify or question that. I can look and see, was that real? Did he say the real thing? Was he lying to me? Was he telling me something a little not true? Let me look it up. Let me check it for myself. Right? Sure. The White House currently releases some factoid about how great the economy is. You're like,
what?
I don't know. I just checked my wallet. That doesn't seem right. So, I mean, there's
we bought Chinese food last night, $95.
Jesus Christ. There's some things that are obviously that incorrect, but then there's other things that were smaller, and I think there was different variations. You had things in COVID where people are like, oh, maybe we do need masks. Maybe this is true. But then as slowly science and data was coming out, they're like, maybe we need to question this. Yeah. And then there was some stuff that they would say, Fauci or whoever, or you'd be like, wait, so I can't go to the supermarket, but they can burn things in the street.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, what backfired on them is both people who wore masks and didn't wear masks were arming up. They crossed the political barrier into the middle and then the left as well of people who were willing to purchase firearms. And now, I mean, we have more non-political and left-leaning gun owners than ever before. And it's one of those things where once people kind of see the truth in self-protection, they start to see the truth in other things as well. And that's just massive backfire. But like I said, that's why we're winning the culture war right now, and the pendulum's just going to keep swinging.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are, but I will say that there's such a hardcore fan base, so to speak, of Tyranny, and it's for two reasons: one, pure ignorance; they just don't know, and two, fear and safety. That's what they think they're getting by being fearful and subservient to our tech and government overlords. They feel that they're being offered safety and entree, right? Which is what they gave to us, quote unquote, during the pandemic, right? And they didn't at all. And even though we cracked the paradigm, they're pushing back, which is part of the discussion we're having tonight with the ATF pushback right now. There was this like a whole thing, Midas, the discussion of the removal of smoke grenades, flashbangs, and no personal sales without a background check, making
Also,
essentially everyone an FFL.
And then obviously the whole thing with the UTMs and simunition
Mm-hmm,
not
mm-hmm.
long ago, where all sorts of different things are trying to classify everything as firearms and
airsoft
jurisdictions of things.
Airsoft in New York. And for those of you who think airsoft is the game that you dropped little Timmy off at for the birthday party, yes, that's true to a degree. However, you can build a one-to-one perfect mock-up of your current rifle as a training rifle and actually train force on force if you know what you're doing and working with the right people. And I've been advocating for that for years. Technically, it's illegal to sell airsoft guns in New York State, even though we do have stores that sell airsoft guns here. So I made a post recently talking about this, and I said, yeah, airsoft is still I still think it's the best, personally, the best civilian force on force training method. And now they don't want you to have smokes or bangers. And, Brett, you're not aware of these, but R2Bs and things like that, there was this Russian company that made these amazing bangers. They were like well over 120 decibels. And when that bad boy went off in a room, you were like, for a second, right? You're like, ooh, and you get out of the way. And then that's that split second that you're coming through the fatal funnel and you're able to do some work. They just eliminated all of those, right? Why? It's an airsoft toy, right? I mean, yeah, no, but what are they afraid of? Are they suddenly afraid of something like, maybe a situation that they've created? I don't know, but it's very telling to me how the machine works and in very certain steps in certain ways. It's
it's all just for show. It's they know that none of this stuff is going to stick. Incrementalism has been their game for decades when it comes to infringing upon the Second Amendment. And they know that none of this stuff is going to stick. The pistol brace thing didn't and will continue to not stick. The 80%, all that kind of stuff, it's all getting shot down. Even bump stocks didn't stick. That took a long time. And this is kind of their game, is they're like, okay, we can infringe upon the Second Amendment for 2 years, 5 years, whatever. And that is showing our base and our donors who are anti-gun that we're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, it's just a political cheat. They know that none of this stuff is going to stick. We all have to be temporary, uncomfortable, and vigilant in fighting it to make sure it doesn't stick. That's the unfortunate thing. It's wasting our time, wasting our money, and wasting all of our effort that we could be promoting, expanding upon the original intent of the Second Amendment. But they know none of it's going to stick. It's all just a distraction and just, appealing to their donors and their base. So it is what it is.
Well, I feel that another thing that we have to be cautious of is we're obviously coming to 2024. And I know a lot of people think Trump's going to win, Biden's going to win, whoever. But if a Republican, I'm not saying Trump's some super pro-gun president because he was not. But if Trump wins, or Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy or any of these people, I think a lot of people are going to get their guards down. It's like, we won, relax, whatever. But every time there's a significant amount of gun control legislation, it's under Republicans. Every time, without fail, right? Some of the worst gun legislation we've ever seen has been under Republican administrations. And
almost all of it, with the exception of the assault weapons ban under Clinton. But other than that, almost all
I think
of it.
the original NFA may have been under Democrats.
Yeah, long time. I mean,
do you think
but
though,
the machine guns and all that stuff.
Do you think though once bitten, twice shy though, Midas and Brett? Like, I'll leave this to you guys. Like, meaning like, I think we're getting good at pattern recognition, and that's why we're having this new wave, right? Like, for example, all those people who are living in the moment and aware, self-aware, who you said, Brett, like half of Beverly Hills armed up and everything like that. You got Jack Osborne with Mike Glover doing like, drive-bys through Skid Row to show everyone how horrible LA is right now, and he's armed to the teeth and trains with Glover and stuff, right? Like, okay.
Hell, you have Michael Rappaport saying he might vote for Trump.
Yeah. Michael Rappaport saying he's going to vote for Trump. He pig dick Donald Trump, whatever he calls him. But do you think once bitten, twice shy? And the reason why I say that is because, now like there's this tug of war happening in the GOP. What? A dick? Oh, the thumbs up. Did you?
I don't know what does that, but
you went like this, and it was like good job.
All right. Anyway, let's see if I can get it done again. So the GOP has this whole tug of war happening within it, right? Where you have these filthy, dirty rhinos, and then you have like a few people that I even question the Matt Gaetzes, but look, the rhinos are Democrats. So that makes some Republicans Democrats, but all Democrats are Democrats.
Dan Bongino famously said that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I'm saying is, do you think that this is the era of pattern recognition, and that this go around, the people who are looking at the Viveks or the Trumps seriously are thinking, no, not this time, my guy. Like the gun rights stay. The ATF's got to go altogether. Oh shit!
It agrees. Whichever NSA agent is controlling your computer, filters. He's based.
All right, I don't have any filters on. You know what I'm saying, though? Do you think we have any of that going on? That's what
I think you do, but not enough. I think still the majority of people, the people who got Donald Trump elected in the first place, the people who may get someone like Donald Trump elected again, they don't really keep up with what's going on. It's only their pockets. Okay, I physically have less money in my pockets. Groceries are physically more expensive. Gas is more expensive. My family can't travel. I'm literally being controlled by the government, being told where I can and can't go.
Mm-hmm.
They're not necessarily not conservative. They might be very right-leaning, and a majority of the country is, but they're not involved. That's the issue. Is you can be the most conservative, red-blooded American ever, but if you never leave your farm and you never do anything about it until it gets really bad, that means it's gotten really bad. And going out and voting once for the president isn't going to change everything. Yes, we've had massive voter turnout in 2020, but voter turnout has been going down again, especially for the Republicans, because one, Republicans are terrible. Like, I don't know what that woman running the RNC is an idiot, but not only that, people don't care enough. Speaking with people who've been in the political system or who were in the political system or tried to get in there, a lot of people, like when I spoke with Tony Cowden, he was kind of became apathetic about it. Like, he knows what's going on, but he's like, why should I run if no one's going to try? Like, just because, and I think that's the thing, is we have this idea that we elected someone, they're going to go do all the work. That's not how it works. No. You still have to be involved. You still have to be active. You still have to be knowing what's going on. Just because you elected them and you thought they were great, you still have to pay attention to what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they're passing, what they're not passing, what they're vetoing, all that stuff. You need to constantly pay attention. And, Matt Gaetz, I don't know what his true intentions are. I don't know if he wants to be speaker or he wanted to be speaker or what. But honestly, at this point, I don't care to try and figure out why people are doing what they're doing. I just look at what they're doing, right? So I'm not going to try and decipher the intentions behind Vivek Ramaswamy or any of these people. But when I see someone actually do something like Matt Gaetz oust a giant rhino neocon scumbag like Kevin McCarthy from a seat of massive power, I don't really care why he did it. Until I see other actions, I'm just like, okay, that was good.
But so Brett, like, I got to ask you, like, maybe more directly then, is our voter base now, and the reason why by the way, everyone, that we're talking politics so much is because the second you put a gun in your hand, you are now politically branded, and that's it. No matter how hard you try, airsoft or a real one. But what I'm asking is our base now knowledgeable enough that they're going to keep an eye out and understand what the ATF is doing, and speak to their local Congress people about it, and vote for a guy maybe like Vivek who wants to do the afuera, the Argentina thing, you know what I mean, and everything like that, or vote for Donald Trump because he's saying he's going to afuera everything, Do you think that we're finally at a point of political maturity after being put through the ringer for so long now? Or is it, as Dan Bongino, of course, I love him. He's a former schoolmate of mine. Is it bad enough? Is it or is it not bad enough?
I think for people like the three of us and probably anybody who's watching this, we're going to be keeping an eye out. And I think that there are more people than ever that are aware of that. It's like, oh, okay, the most amount of gun control gets passed under Republicans because people get apathetic and Republicans are willing to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
That was Donald Trump with the bump stock ban. He had the NRA whispering into his ear that you should take a look at these. And Trump is like, okay, well, that's what the NRA says. The NRA is my base. If that's what they're saying, then that's what I'll do because I'm here to make deals and I'm here to compromise.
Take the guns first, then ask questions later. There it is. Yes, afuera.
And it's one of those things. Yes, I think we just need to be careful about our optimism, living in the bubbles that we are. We don't want to be in an echo chamber of ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to be aware. We need to continue the outreach. More people than ever are aware, and that's good, but it's not enough. So I am optimistic about the direction we're headed in. I'm just not overconfident in where we're at.
I have to throw this out because Midas and I yesterday were talking about all this, and I said that really what we're heading for, what we're looking at, I think heading into 2024 as an election year, but also just the time. Even if it was not an election year right now, considering what the ATF has done and like with the Larry Vickers thing, which we'll get to shortly, it's tyranny and chaos. And the more chaos there is, the more tyranny grows. And you saw that, I can give you another example about my state. Right now, our Beavertooth governor, Kathy Hochul, decided that she went to court and fought for the right for New York State to be able to throw you into a quarantine camp. I shit you not. This is still under discussion in this state. So now she has won. So they can literally say, oh, look at this guy, Pete, from Good Guys. He's talking. And by the way, we think he's got quarantine. He's got COVID. And before this becomes a massive outbreak of the new COVID 123 XYZ variant, we should throw this guy in a quarantine camp. Really, we need to take this guy and put him away. So tyranny and chaos, you guys, that's what is pushing. That's what's driving these people, in my humble opinion. But I also think, like you said before, the back end of that is that people are waking up because they're seeing so much tyranny and chaos. And I think that's what is at the core of all of this legislation, and the elements of control. The ATF banning freaking flash grenades. Why the hell would you do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't need to tell you about New York City and their regulations with pepper spray, right?
Yes.
Like that. It's the same logic. It's the stupidest thing where you probably know better than I do, but if you want pepper spray, you have to go into like a pharmacy and fill out a piece of paper and get a canister of a certain size, and there's certain formula that is legal. I can't take my palm pepper spray and carry that.
No, but I'll tell you what though, if I want a Glock with that switchy, when I want to keep that thing on me with a 21 round mag, I could, no problem. And
as long as you're using it to commit crimes.
By the way, right. And by the way, I commit, let's just say, if I'm that guy with that thing on me and I commit a rape, I'm out 4 hours later, like my buddy who just busted a rapist the other day. And
dude, I love it. So he busted that rapist right on.
He busted that rapist the other day. And and so he busted this rapist, and literally as He's filling out his paperwork at his desk. The guy's being walked out of the precinct, and the guy's going, "Yeah, cop, I told you I would be out. Fuck you. You ain't shit, bitch. Blah, 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 blah." And the guy probably went on to do God knows what else. You know what I'm saying? So tyranny and chaos, I think, is the theme. And the more chaotic it's going to get, the more you're going to see. For example, Argentina recently banned all of the electronic voting system and no mail-ins and all this sort of stuff. And guess what? They had all their results like everyone else did for the history of the world in the same night with no issues, no confusion. And look who won, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I mean, I'm in Arizona. You're going to trigger me talking about that.
You should.
Because they want to arrest arrest people for trying to ban electronic voting.
Well, that's insanity. But you see what they're doing is tyranny and chaos. They're causing this mess coming into 2024. And I listen, man, my wife seems to think that we're going to go on a vacation at some time around the election next year. And I'm just cracking up. I was like, babe, we're going to have to be defending the homestead this time of year next year. You know what I mean? It's going to be madness and pandemonium. And she's like, well, we'll just see what happens when we get to that point. And she's really upset. She's really upset because she knows, she could feel it in the air, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. If we even have an election.
Right. I mean, so this guy, I mean, how could I you know what? Without going too far on a tangent, excuse me, about this guy, will he run, won't he run? Whatever they do, they're just going to try to make it as crazy as possible. Donald Trump wins from jail, and then if that's the best possible scenario. He wins from jail, pardons himself, and goes to damn work. You know what I mean? Or on the other hand, you get Newsom and like Big Mike, you know what I mean, on the ticket, right? Yep. Right? That's the other thing to worry about. It's a scary time of tyranny and chaos, and it seems to me, right? I don't want to speak crazy or out of turn, but it seems to me like the reason why the founders wrote the Second Amendment is more relevant than ever before.
No, I mean, I'm on the scale, I am chaotic good. I'm just really looking forward to 2024 because it's going to be a good time, no matter how it turns out.
I feel like we're honestly seeing a almost mirroring. Sorry,
mirroring. According to my calculations, I'm seeing a mirroring.
Oh god.
Oh shit.
So I think something we're seeing is a mirroring of what happened in Nazi Germany. And I know that sounds crazy, but the Reichstag fire, right? That I think that is January 6th for us. And I'm not original in saying that. If you guys go watch Police State by Dinesh D'Souza, great film. A little bit hyperbolic in some places, but
you really enjoy that movie. Just talking about it.
Oh my gosh, dude.
All right. Anyways,
I'm the only one drinking.
In that movie, he talks about
sneeze.
How the Reichstag fire. That's why I need to go to get the paper towels earlier. Or the Reichstag fire is very similar to what happened in January 6th, where they're using it as an excuse to lock people up, to make political prisoners, to take away people's rights, to create new insane regulations and things that you never see before. And of course, now that the new speaker, what's his name? I can't remember his name.
Mike Johnson.
Mike and his Big Johnson released all the footage from January 6th, and you look at it, and it's like it's even worse. It's even worse than looking at the Tucker Carlson stuff that was released like last year. It's even more like, yeah, nothing happened. This is literally a bunch of bullcrap.
Okay, to put that in perspective for everyone, okay, and if you're part of the uninitiated who knows something, maybe if you're watching this, the whole bullshit about that day, but this is a great one. One of the Capitol Police officers, he's an African American man. There's a reason why I'm saying that, and I'll get to that in a moment. Made these claims. He wrote a book and about the horrors of what he lived through that day, the horrors. The misery, the sadness. He was called the word that shall not be said over 15 times.
Voldemort?
Yes. You know how much African Americans hate to be called Voldemort, for crying out loud. And so he was called the word many times. And one time by a woman wearing a pink t-shirt, a pink MAGA t-shirt, and you know, all that. And he took a moment to himself. And he went into the Capitol Rotunda by himself, he claims, where he thumbs up, where he cried, you know, because he couldn't believe that he was called the N-word in uniform and so on and so forth and everything like that. Well, the release of these tapes, thank you, Speaker Johnson, where they track this man's movements throughout the whole day. There was no woman in a pink shirt. When he was in the Capitol Rotunda, he was laughing and joking around with his fellow Capitol police officers, right? And there was footage of this guy the entire time. Not once with the audio was he ever called the N-word. Okay, so
Noldemort.
Noldemort. Yeah, exactly. So long and short, right, guys? That's the kind of stuff that it just takes a hair of research. If we had this thing, there's a word for it. Starts with a J. Starts with a J. Journalism. If we had this thing, we would know these facts, and then this guy would be publicly shamed. He would be fired from his police position. He would be maybe even brought up on charges for perjury, right? Lying on the stand, because this man came up on the stand and everything like that, right? But no, it helps further divide, further the chaos, further the madness, right? So that everyone's so polarized, they don't realize we're all getting fucked at the end of the day. Right, where the ATF is trying to regulate this and regulate that, and maybe it turns into bullshit. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it sticks that I can't get a flashbang or a smoke. Well, why do you need one? I don't know. How the hell else am I supposed to clear a room? Like dead ass.
So I got into it the other night with a friend who'd come over, and they were
a friend came over and you got into him.
It was a she, but anyways.
Sorry,
not
I didn't mean
like
to,
that, guys.
Didn't mean to misgender.
That's hot.
But anyways, no. The point was, some friends were over, and I got into it with this one friend talking about politics, and I don't know how it all started. I think we were talking about the Bill of Rights, and it went from there. You guys know how it goes. You start for one thing, and all of a sudden you're talking about like aliens on the moon or something. So we get into it, and eventually, we were talking for like hours and going back and forth about different stuff. I'm like, can we just agree, right? Because they want like tax the rich, all that nut stuff. Can we agree that all the people we currently have in Congress, in Senate, the president, all these people aren't doing anything? Like, they're not doing anything. They're not even doing what you want. Like, can we at least agree on that? And then they agree on it. And then, but I'm like, okay, so why don't we? God damn it.
I don't know why it's doing that.
I'm like, so the first, because they're talking about we have to do this and that and that. I'm like, but none of that will ever get done. Even if I don't want any of what you want, or maybe there's some stuff we can agree on, but why don't we agree on that the people that are in power currently, the people that you elected, more than likely, and that people tend to reelect, they're not doing anything. Let's get rid of everyone. Let's make that the first step. Let's get rid of literally everyone, all the bureaucrats, all the politicians. Let's start from scratch. And it, like, I don't know what it was, but no matter what, it's like, well, but I want all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, but none of that is going to happen. Even if you want Walmart to pay 150% tax and all the rich and Donald Trump to be in jail for life, maybe that part they'll try and make happen. But none of that other stuff's going to happen. All these politicians and senators, they're all friends with the rich and all this stuff. I know I'm kind of going off at the tangent there, but my point was I could not get her to just be like, yeah, let's get rid of everyone and start from scratch and go from there. It's like they're so caught up.
Everyone.
And I could get her to admit that or agree that all of this is designed to divide us, to cause us to have this disagreement, so we never focus on the idea that these people are our enemy at this point. She agrees on it, but at the same time goes right back to the narrative of tax the rich and this, that, and the third, and women don't have rights, or all this bullshit.
Can I explain that to you, though? Can I explain why that is? Because
I know why it is. It's just an interesting phenomenon.
Well, from that perspective, but I'll tell you another reason why. My wife, right? Love her to death, right? And she's on our side, man. She deep down, not even deep down, like outwardly, she's on our side. Finally, I brought her to the Holy Land because she's one of these people that likes to sit in the middle and be like, well, we have to listen to the others. No, we don't. Their shit is nonsense. That's commie gobbledygook. I'm not listening to this shit. Hell no, I don't have to listen to this. What are you, nuts? Like, since when do we listen to communists in America? Fuck that. Finally, I have her here, right? But the thing is, when I say to her, hey, we're gonna, I was I never talked about this on the show actually, because it recently happened. I was recently almost a victim of a carjacking here in New York City at 6 a.m. like on my last job in my like former job, which is working in TV. Let's get into that another time. But you know, like her parents are very liberal and they love New York City. They love to be there. Oh, it's amazing. Broadway. And think of the cuisine, right? But I almost got carjacked there because there's no fucking law anymore. Okay. And when I say bad things, everyone just went, no, it's a one-off thing. Turns out there's a string of robberies right in the area I was carjacked in. A guy got like a $20,000 chain and like a Rolex taken from him at gunpoint at noon on the same block. I come to find out, right? Anyway, long and short, my wife wants to bury her head sometimes because it's all too much for her. You know, when I say to her, we have to have storable food and water filtration and a way to store water and like, you know, this and that. Why would we need that? I'm like, oh, do I have to explain it? Do you want me to say it to you? She's like, all right, just do it. Just buy it. Just fucking buy it if it makes you feel better. Because if she accepts the reality of why I need to carry, I don't go anywhere without my gun ever. Right? Like, you know, if she needs to accept the reality of the reality of that, that's going to hit her hard. She's going to have some real shit to start thinking about right now. And that's why these people don't want to say, yeah, we need to get rid of them all, because that's a real responsibility. That is the kind of citizen that our founders wanted. An involved citizen who's educated on the politics, who's educated on their local people, who's educated on the system, civics, voting, so on and so forth. You add that responsibility to someone's life right now, their head's going to fucking explode.
Yeah. I mean, right now they're preoccupied with, you know, working their 9 to 5 and then getting home and scrolling TikTok and looking for social validation. And you start adding in reality to that. It's bursting their little comfortable bubble of luxury and distraction where they feel safe. And once somebody doesn't feel safe, there's a responsibility to step up. And, you know, survival of the fittest is kind of over with the human race due to our, you know, socialization and civilization. And once you put somebody in the position of survival of the fittest might come back into play, might be back on the menu.
Back on the menu, boys.
And they know that they don't have, they're not prepared to rise to that occasion. It makes them uncomfortable and they want to slip back into the matrix. They want to slip back into their simulation.
100%. They become Cypher. Exactly. I know the steak isn't real, but it tastes good. And you know what? Ignorance is bliss, right? Yep. That was the line.
Yeah. That was 100%. How many times have you seen that movie?
A billion times, man.
Or are you just autistic and you saw it once?
I mean, I'm living
He's
it.
Acoustic.
I live the documentary called The Matrix. Yeah. So, you know, but you know what? Back to the point, though, of tyranny and chaos, you guys, right? All right. So I just looked this up a minute ago, this quote, and this is relevant. John Adams, right? Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. Morality and virtue are the foundation of our republic and necessary for a society to be free. Okay, however you feel about religion, I don't give a shit if you're an atheist, right? Thank you. However you feel like, however you feel about religion, whatever. We are a virtueless, sliding scale of morality society, right? So how could this person, even my wife, who I love, I'll kill for her. Okay. You know that what I'm talking about, Brett.
Yep.
Like even her, how can she follow this Constitution if she's burying her head in the sand about what the morality of the world is, right? Kill the killer, be killed. The truth of nature that the true nature of the universe that we lived in, right? Like, no one gave a shit about that one dude recently walking down the street with his super woke girlfriend in Brooklyn in Bed-Stuy about 4 a.m. when he was stabbed and murdered and killed. No one cared that guy has done more for BLM than probably the guy who killed him, the African American future scholar that killed him. You know, and the future dreamer, and like no, I mean, and I say that like yes, of course, I'm poking fun because that's what the media would say, right? But the shit. But
What did you turn on?
I'm gonna track that down. I'm sure it's some Logitech bullshit. But the point I'm making, right, is if you don't have a society that's based in anything, you get this what we have right now, which the government loves. They can just pull you in any direction they want to. One day, you're a freedom-loving American, and the next day you're Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the flag.
Well, and I think as well, kind of hitting on what you're saying, if there's no morality to base what you see on, right? Because I think, and I say this, and people think I'm being like an arrogant asshole, and sometimes I might be. But when I get into a conversation with someone, they're like, "Oh, well, that's your reality." I'm like, no. I only believe in reality. I just believe in what there is and what's morally right. Well, that's based on you. No, that's not based on me. That's based on what is.
Objective truth versus
there's objective truth and there's objective
bullshit.
morality. I think that's the thing is we've reached this point in society where like, oh, we have to be understanding of all cultures and beliefs and yada yada. No. There is objective morality. Objective morality is stealing is bad. Murder is bad. Certain things are bad. And when I got in this conversation with this girl, there was no objective morality to base upon whether taking money from the rich is good or, oh, well, we'll just take all of it. Why? Because why not? There's nothing, and it's not she's a bad person, but it's that she does not have the objective moral basis that so many people used to have, that we all have, to say some things are just bad. I can't articulate to you why. I just shouldn't have to. That is the basis of, if you want to talk, we were talking about society, and my thing is society is a facade. And the only way to maintain the facade is if we all have the same objective morality. Once we've lost that, we no longer have society. It is simply a facade.
And where does it come from, that objective reality?
Western Judeo-Christian values.
Thank you. That's it. That's the answer.
So ultimately, if we don't have that, we devolve into this facade of society. But in reality, what are we at our whole? What are we really?
Iceland spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Yeah.
We must be cautious.
Huge Star Trek fan.
You son of a bitch, Fred.
Ultimately, but that's what we were becoming. Where you go to New York, LA, any of these big cities, there's no morality. There's no, like, you have those kids that ran over that old man.
Yeah, in Vegas.
Right? Or the kids that beat to death that one white kid. Right, which of course we can't bring race into it. If it was the other way around, race is okay. But
also in Vegas,
if it's black versus white, can't bring race, doesn't matter. But if it's white versus black or black versus Asians, we don't talk about that. Like that's a whole other conversation. Obviously, stop Asian hate.
Yeah,
but when it comes to all of this, we're slowly devolving into a wretched hive of scum and villainy, where we have so many lawless scumbags roaming the street. And you have people who have heart and compassion, like, oh, they're just misunderstood. They just need our help. Yes, they need our help. But eventually, there's not much help you can give some people. I think we've reached a point where people have no morality, no basis for what they do. It's simply me, and it's a selfish, whatever makes them happy for the day sort of thing. On a whim, they'll kill someone. On a whim, they'll steal from someone, right? They don't want to earn something. They'll just take it from someone else. That's what we're getting. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it's why you need one of these, because one day that person might find you and you might have to find a place for the thing that comes out of this.
Yeah, we're now at a point where, somebody can commit some heinous act. They're arrested. They're, taken to jail, they're booked, and then they're immediately released. And then they, go back out on the street with a court date, and then they never show up for the court date. And then you have somebody who is an absolute, undeniable American hero that moves some guns around and moves some gun parts around, yes. nonviolent crime. And he's being prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
Way to bring it back, Brett. That is a pro move right there. That is a pro podcaster, pro gun tuber move right there. I have to applaud you. Nice move. Larry Vickers, ladies and gentlemen. This guy, Delta Force hero amongst heroes, right? A
pillar of the community.
A pillar of the community. Man, even came out with a video that said, "Why am I fat?" And then went and became not fat anymore and started doing CrossFit in his old age, right? Just because he faced the reality of who he is, right? Unbelievable human being, man. And this is the bullshit he's facing. Midas, you want to break down what happened to him? You want to tell the folks?
I mean, I can just go from the article. Larry Vickers faces the 60 faces the 25 years in prison from the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland. Judge overseeing the case and not yet scheduled a sentencing date. Vickers.
Well, that cleared it up. Thank you.
Yes, well said.
Moving
well
on.
said.
So essentially, I just wanted to read the facts really quick before I spoke.
Oh,
Essentially, what
shit.
happened is there's some, I won't say loopholes in NFA and stuff like that. And in reality, they weren't violating it, but they were kind of doing it in a way that the ATF didn't like. They were kind of using what currently exists and being like, oh, well, let's just do this, right? And ultimately, it was for police departments, it was for things like that, but they weren't doing it exactly the way the ATF wants. But they were kind of like bending the rules a little bit. In reality, he should be able to do whatever the fuck he wants because he's an American citizen, and if he wants a machine gun, a tank, a grenade launcher, a nuclear bomb, whatever, it's his. But anyways, because the one doing it the way the ATF wants, ATF investigated, found found probable cause, arrested him, and because of the way federal courts work, if you get in federal court, you're probably going to get fucked. Unless you have
especially Maryland.
Especially Maryland, unless you're someone like Donald Trump who has so much money that he can fight a court case with the federal government. Most people, the reason all these January 6th prisoners pled guilty is because they knew they were going to get fucked in the ass, both literally and physically, if they did not plead to the federal government, right? A way a lot of state prosecutors and county prosecutors and city prosecutors do their job is they will use the idea of a plea agreement to get someone to plead guilty to a crime, giving them a lesser sentence so that way they don't have to take it to court because they're lazy. When it comes to the federal government, it's not because they're lazy and they know they can't win in court. It's because they know they will ass rape you in court. And so they're offering you a plea that's not much better than what you'd get in court versus, you have state prosecutors, district attorneys in your states and local governments who they will give you a sweetheart deal because they know in court they're probably too lazy to win that case.
Yeah. And so it's my understanding that essentially the probable cause is he was late on re-upping his FFL SOT or something like that. Yeah. And they were like, oh, well, you're now in possession of all that. I mean, the dude has cancer, for God's sake. You'd think that he would have a grace period. But apparently they were like, okay, well, we know you have possession of all this stuff. So they took all of his stuff and they took all of his books. And in those books, they found the stuff of him, moving full autos around. Nothing horrible. Like he's selling them to criminals or something. It
was like police departments.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think he got into trouble he had some class 3 items that the parts for them were in countries that we cannot trade with.
Russia.
And
he had right here, like Kalashnikov parts and stuff that were banned in 2014.
Exactly. And he got his order in a little too late for those parts before.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me one of the world's most foremost gun collectors and gun aficionados who's written such books as, Larry Vickers AR-15 volume 1 and 2, Larry Vickers 1911, Larry Vickers AK-47s volume 1 and 2, like books that I have at the store for my customers to thumb through while they're waiting on something, right? Like, you mean to tell me in America, the land of guns, cannot have a gun that he's collected? My God. I mean, if Trump wins, the first thing I would do if I was Trump would be like, pardon Larry Vickers, man. Like that guy goes home today. Yeah.
Well, so I know Trump has talked about pardoning all the January 6 people. Like that, I mean, obviously Larry Vickers, but someone like Larry Vickers has the community. Like they have people like the GOA, FPC, like all these organizations have announced they're going to be helping him and stuff like that.
Thank God.
But you have a lot of these people who are nobodies. No one knows about their cases.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Going back to the Police State movie, there's a I forget his name, and I hate that I did that, but there was a kid who
hung himself.
Who hung himself in prison. Who was
Matthew something. I'll find his name while you're
find it for me.
Yeah.
But he killed himself while at his house, hung himself in his garage while waiting trial. Even though, because the prosecutor basically went for some insane charges that probably wouldn't have stuck, but just to make it sound scarier. And so the kid killed himself because he was afraid. And this is a January 6th defendant. He was afraid he was going to get basically like life in prison in a federal.
Or how about that bar owner that during the riots during COVID shot a man defensively?
Matthew Perna.
Yes,
Matt
thank you. Was that the BLM or was that COVID? I don't remember. I think it was BLM, wasn't
Matt
it?
Saperno was the kid that
The kid that hung himself.
cut himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, God rest your soul, man.
But yeah, that bar owner, I think it was BLM riots. He shot a man defensively,
Mhm.
and he was being prosecuted, and he ended up committing suicide,
Wow.
which is terrible. Just
Disgusting.
absolute defensive.
We have on paper the most important paper that governs our entire land. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called the Constitution Bill of Rights.
And NPR, National Public Radio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
It charged in shooting of black man, not man, black man.
Oh no! Can I tell you guys a story?
Look, a white Omaha, Nebraska bar owner who's recently indicted for his role in a failed shooting of a young black man.
Oh no!
Young black man. James Garner, 38, shot and killed. James Garner, 22. The shooting took place. That's all the information that should be there, right? Not this. This is during racial garbage. NPR, you should be disgraced. You are disgusting.
Well, we should defund NPR right away.
Scum of the earth.
Defund them.
Yeah,
defund them.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but this dude was also a veteran.
Yes, he was an Iraq War veteran.
Yeah. Hired
a bodyguard living in California shootings. The attorney told reports that he recently returned to Oregon with the wildfire and scheduled to return to Omaha to turn himself in Sunday, face criminal charges. And then Swan reports the body was found outside a medical clinic.
Can I tell you guys a quick story, real quick? Yes. It relates to this, I promise. So I have a good friend who's on the NYPD, and during COVID, he was still a young patrol officer. Now he's moved on to bigger and better things. Great guy, very close friend, and he was. They kind of. I don't know what the word was, but they put him in different parts of the city, right? Like, even though he's based in this one part here, he was in another borough doing all kinds of work because of COVID. You know, times were kind of crazy, whatever. They would detail you to other places in the city, okay? So he was rolling through in Harlem and came upon a future scholar, a future doctor, maybe a future, I don't know, whatever, black man literally beating the shit out of black woman on the street. He says it looked like a kind of a pimp prostitute kind of scenario, but whatever, right? He could not confirm that, but that's what his intuition told him as a street cop. Anyway, now, if he wanted to get into an interaction with a person of color, he had to call it in first to his sergeant, right? Him and his partner. So they called it in, and the sergeant said, well, what's happening? Okay, we have so-and-so black male beating up black female, right? Okay. Do you think you can take him down without putting hands on him and arrest him? No, Sergeant, he looks pretty angry. Do you think that how does the woman look? She's pretty fucked up, Sarge. Yeah, is she still standing? Yeah, she's still standing, but she's pretty fucked up. He's like, all right, move on. That's how much they care about you. If you're in a neighborhood where perhaps you're seeing more crime because of whatever reasons, I don't care if it's socioeconomic or whatever, right? That's how much they give a fuck about you, that they let a woman get the shit kicked out of her because no one could touch them because of both their race, really.
Well, with feminism, that woman has every single right to get the shit beaten out of her, just like a man would have the right to get the shit beaten out of him.
Equal rights and lefts. Sorry.
Equal right, equal fight.
Equal rights and lefts. No, man, I'm just saying, like that story has always stuck with me because it's obviously wrong. He should have just been able to run out of the squad car and jump on this guy and cuff him up. And if the guy got like dinged up a little during the whole thing, well, then too fucking bad. Because that woman for sure would have appreciated it. And you know, this whole story, like a guy just kills himself, a Iraq War vet. We should be kissing his ass. Thank you for doing nonsense on behalf of the Bush regime. Yeah. You know what I mean? Thank you for fucking risking your life for nothing. You know what I mean? And you know, this guy kills himself because he just can't handle what his court like may decide to do to him in America.
Well, and not to mention public perception of everybody immediately thinking that he's a racist murderer. Here's a guy who put, foot to ass for his country and made severe sacrifices so that we can maintain our freedom, or at least, that's the hope, right? That's the intent. And now here he is being painted as a racist murderer. So,
well, and the thing is, anyone who looked at the situation and the facts were presented, you'd be like, oh, okay, he was defending himself. Clear case of self-defense. But of course, you have scumbag pieces of shit like NPR putting out news where they add all these racially charged words where they don't even clearly say what happened. They just simply add all this bullshit to make it seem like this guy basically got what's coming to him, instead of this poor man was targeted by people, by prosecutors, by the media. And, it's disgusting. It's sad. Obviously, we saw this with Kyle Rittenhouse, where Kyle Rittenhouse was literally, they were trying to basically put him to death. Yeah. Right.
Yep.
Trying to destroy his entire life.
Yep.
And, that I think was a very landmark case, because whichever way it went, if it went,
it was the most important one.
Yeah. If it went the way everyone thought, I honestly thought it was going to go, he was going to get put in jail for life. I thought it was going to be prison for life for Kyle Rittenhouse. Right. I hate to say that, but that's legitimately, like, looking at not the facts of the situation. Facts of the situation, he should have never gone to trial. Yeah. But looking at the public perception, the media, everything, I was like, he might get totally screwed. Right. And as the trial progressed, I had hope, and I was really glad that he got his just deserves. And now all these scumbags, Whoopi Goldberg and all the other pieces of crap online and in the media are finally, getting their asses sued off because of everything they did. Just like with what was the kid of, like, the Indian guy with the drums? I can't remember his name.
Oh, Sandman.
Sandman.
Same thing. Yeah. But this is like a whole other level. Nick Sandman, you're just impugning his character. Kyle Rittenhouse, you're literally calling him a racist murderer when he shot white pedophiles. So ultimately, these sorts of situations, I think, lead to people like this bar owner and people encountering this sort of prosecution and be like, well, what's the point, right? I'm being prosecuted in the media. I'm being prosecuted by prosecutors. I'm being prosecuted. My own friends and family have turned against me. I've had to move to another state. People give up.
Lawfare. And that's what we have in this country now. And that's what they're trying to do to DJT. Like, love him or hate him, he's not a perfect man. He wasn't a perfect president. But Donald Trump right now is getting that, like, taste of, all right, we'll just keep suing him for nonsense that doesn't even stick, with obvious judges who are pure psychopaths, like this guy in New York.
Well, that guy's literally a media personality.
Yeah, he's like, shut the fuck up. I don't care what the defendant has to say. Whoa.
Like, what? Like, have you ever? What kind of judge is this?
Yeah, like straight out of fucking Hazard County, fucking Dukes of Hazzard bullshit, man. Like that, he's on Boss Hogg's payroll, man. And like, that's the thing. Like, when like Donald Trump, I don't think he has endless funds, but he's got way more than I do. I'm going to take the plea. And then, see, he took the plea, had to been guilty.
It's just like when, like, police departments or agencies give payouts because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they set the precedent of, oh, look, this is an easy way to get money. You just sue that police department, like NYPD. That happens with NYPD all the time.
All the time.
And two, it sets a precedent. Oh, that officer was wrong in what they did because they settled, right? The idea has become settlements mean you were wrong. If you don't if you don't fight it to the end, that means you were wrong. That means you must have been wrong, and that's why you're being like, okay, right? If someone compromises, if you have an argument with someone and you're like, all right, man, look, I get it. Let's find common ground. Oh, so you're admitting you're wrong. No, I'm just trying to, like, not be an asshole, but apparently you are. Yeah. And that's what these prosecutors, these sue happy nut jobs are, is they're being assholes.
Right.
At the end of the day.
They break into your house, you smoke them in a castle defense scenario, perfect clean killing, and then the family comes out and says he was a good boy. He didn't do nothing. This guy was trigger happy. Look, he put a Johnny Glock's custom trigger in his Glock 45, and that meant he wanted to kill someone. Wait, who? What the fuck? Like,
yeah.
No, I presented the weapon because, whatever, this guy was making his way into my child's room. So he got smoked.
Yeah, there's so much. There's tort reform, like civil suits are insane these days.
So how do we fix it? How the fuck?
I think we need. There's so many levels of it, right? I think a start is pay attention to your local government, right? See what the fuck is going on around you. Don't just look, oh, well, who's running for president? Who's running for county commission? Who's running for mayor? All of this stuff, that matters a lot too. That's going to change, whoever's there, that's going to change the disposition. If you get into a self-defense shooting, well, that person who may have appointed a judge or who may have appointed a prosecutor or something, that prosecutor could either be a liberal nut job or it could be someone who believes in the ideals of the United States. It's no longer Democrats and Republicans. It's Americans and scumbags who believe in insanity, communists, whatever you want to call them. Republican and Democrat is no longer a proper comparison, right? We were both Americans who believe in different things. This is now Americans and anti-American. You're either American or anti-American. That's it.
And a lot of Republicans are anti-American.
That's
so
right.
Yeah,
so classifying Republican or Democrat, that does not merit anything. It is this person a pro-America or anti-America individual? It's
damn right. You're damn right. And that's why a place like Long Island, New York, where you had like Long Island, New York has two counties. Like I said before, Nassau County, which is closer to the city. Brooklyn, Queens is technically on Long Island and they border Nassau County, right? But they're part of the city. And then you have Suffolk County, which is out east, right? Now, Suffolk County, kind of like a red state, but Nassau's been purple. Well, I'm proud to tell you guys that in the last local election we just had in early November, right on the 4th, we went blood red across the board in Nassau County. Yes, some Democrats got elected here and there again, of course, but we went blood red in New York State. New York State has shown you guys that we are, we're never going to beat the city, I don't think, until we get to 2,900 murders a year, where that was when Giuliani was elected to office here in New York City. Now we're at 300 plus murders a year. We need another 2,600 murders a year. We're waiting for that. 2,600 more deaths.
When you're multiplied times 10.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, even the thumbs up machine says yes. So like we need that to solidify what a New York Republican, by the way, would be really center right, like center right at most. At most, all they would say is, "Hey, we got to prosecute crime." That would be the most right-wing thing they would say. They would still kill babies. They would still sell weed. They would still do all the fucking great stuff that you want to
probably try and ban lots of guns.
Yeah, they'd probably, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Or at least be like, oh, well, do you really need machine guns?
Right.
Maybe pro-gun, not
pro-2A. Of war. No one needs a weapon of war. But anyway, the point is, we just went blood red here. And most of the New York State went blood red. So the point I'm trying to make to you guys is that there is hope here. There is hope. That's why I have a gun shop here in New York, because why not be on the front lines? Why not be behind enemy lines? Why not be there really talking to my customers? Like in Arizona or in Florida, right? Like I could say to my customers, yeah, what do you want? Yeah, all right, here's your Glock. Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Thanks. Nick's, federal background check. Get the fuck out of here. Have a nice day. Here it's like, yeah, I know this sucks, man. I understand, but that's why you got to vote. You got to vote for the right people. You know how many times I've said that working in my partner's gun shop? Like, bro, like this woman was like, I can't believe all the shit we have to go through in this state just to defend ourselves and exercise our God-given rights. Democrat.
Yeah.
And I said, ma'am, I this may seem out of place, and if I'm wrong, ma'am, please, by all means, tell me I'm wrong for asking you this, but I'm just curious. Did you vote for Andrew Cuomo? Well, of course, I'm a Democrat. Well, ma'am, then you voted for this. You voted for gun control. This is what he's selling. So if you're upset by this and it means enough to you, think about it down the road, right?
Most people don't even know what they're voting for.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I know that, the whole fuck your feelings kind of thing, right? But, that's one of the reasons the Democrats have, win these populated areas. It's because they run on emotion.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and usually emotion against the other side. Republicans want to kill gays, right? Like that's the message that they are selling, when in actuality, we just don't care. We don't care what you are. We're just Americans. And instead of, we need to lift certain classes of people up, we should all just be treated like Americans.
Do you see that Tennessee law? where they said that you can't have lewd sex acts in public. Like you can't like
And somehow
have a
that's anti-gay.
yeah, basically you can't fuck another guy in the ass on Main Street or else you're going to jail. And Gavin Newsom said, "Oh, they're just outlawed being gay. It's illegal to be gay." Well, I'm sorry, Gavin Newsom. I didn't know that you should be able to go to Pound Town on your boy over there in the middle of the street in Tennessee. My word, I'm sorry. I must have been remiss.
Yeah,
Well,
and so they run on emotion, which is, obviously they blow up just like journalists blow up race, which is another thing they run on. And the other thing they run on is free money. It's we want to steal people's money who have more than you and redistribute it to you, except not. But we're going to tell you we're redistributing it to you. And that's why they win, is because people want free money and people want to feel morally superior.
You know what? Republicans need to be better liars, and what I mean by that is they're amazing liars. Don't get me wrong, but the kind of lies that they tell are to their own people. Like, we're gonna listen. Tell lies to the Democrats the way they tell lies to us. We don't want to take your guns. We want to take all the guns. If I could take them up, Mr. and Mrs. America, I'd lock them up today. Right? We don't want to take your guns. No. We fucked up in New York. We could have had Lee Zeldin here. There was a big wave for him, but the big deciding factor was abortion. Where he fucked up was saying, I am pro-life, right? So what you do, I know no one is listening to me right now, any Republican that's out there right now, lie to the people. Please lie to them. Say to them, oh, we don't want to take your right women's choice to what to do with their body away.
We just want reasonable, sensible abortion control.
We just want a reasonable, sensible time limit to when a woman can have an abortion out of convenience versus a medical one, of course. Of course, we would never want a woman not to be able to kill their baby in the late trimester unless it was absolutely necessary. Of course not.
And that's kind of how Trump speaks as well.
A little bit.
And I think a lot of times, as Republicans or people on the right were like, oh, well, Trump's too on the left, or he's not strong enough on the issue. I think sometimes that might be how he is, but I think also he's being smart. He's saying, if I don't need to win the Republicans, I need to win the people in the middle. And so if I just outright say this, I'm not going to win anyone. But if I say it in a more palatable way, that's who he is. He's a businessman. He's a personality. He knows those things.
In a paddle. That's what all I'm saying is Lee Zeldin could have been the governor of New York right now, and we wouldn't be living with a woman who wants to throw me in a quarantine camp on her own whim whenever she decides for no reason.
Somehow a judge said that was okay.
And somehow a judge said that was okay. Yet the guy was like so hardcore pro-life, and like, bro, like, okay, I feel you, I'm with you. I don't want babies to die. I just don't want it. But the point I'm trying to make is, and I'm not asking for anyone's opinion, that's my opinion, all right? I'm standing on my own on that one. What I'm saying is, lie. Do the fucking same thing that the Democrats do all day long. We don't want to take your guns. We don't want to take your gas stoves. Gas stoves. That's one of their biggest things that they're working on now, not just in New York, in the entire Biden administration right now, right? That's like a big stink. Oh, gas stoves. And they said the conspiracy about gas stoves, the media is going to cover for them, right? Absolutely. So just lie, and lie some more. Just stop lying to us. If I'm a GOP member, stop lying to me that you're going to hook me up. Just lie to the Democrats. Tell them you're going to hook them up.
Yeah, but I mean, it boils down to donors, right? Because Republicans, I mean, again, it's hard speaking in generalities. I hate speaking in generalities, but at some point we have to give up semantics to make a point. Republicans are very quick to concede and compromise on the Second Amendment. How many Republicans do you know that are like, well, red flag laws seem reasonable? Too many.
Yes.
Yet for some reason, it boils down to donors. Republicans are not quick to compromise on abortion, where it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we have to agree at some point that is a child, right? So it's like third trimester is ridiculous. At the very least, we start there. So again, I don't like getting into this kind of stuff, but if Republicans want to start winning on that issue, you have to take the incrementalism approach that Democrats have taken to infringing on the Second Amendment.
And we don't even need to really address the issue anymore. Like Roe v. Wade's been overturned. right? You can
Moving
sell
on.
it to your own rallies as something. Be like, yeah, we're gonna do this, 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 and this at your own rallies with your
but
own
the media
base to fire
takes
them up.
that and uses it against us, right?
But
Like,
what you need to
that's
do
how
is,
you lose.
is just mention the issues that still need to be addressed, right? Just talk about the economy. Talk about like Vivek and Trump. They're very good at what they do. They talk about, and even DeSantis sometimes, they talk about what people care about. Do not talk about things no one gives a shit about, right? I don't care if you talk about guns or not. Just don't infringe on my rights. Just don't pass garbage. There's Pete taking his Xanax.
Yeah.
The required to live in New York
Advil, bro.
prescription.
I'm gonna say Viagra.
Viagra, bro. I'm about to go see my wife, yo.
Anywho, no,
I know what you're saying, but like Vivek said it the other night. He said we're a party of losers. Remember when he said that, and he's got into the whole thing at
with
the
the
debate?
RNC chair.
Yeah,
Yeah, she's
with
an
Ronna
idiot.
McDaniel. Right. So he said we're a party of losers. We lost in 2018, 2021, whatever. He like listed it all out, right?
Yeah.
We're a party of losers because we're not playing the way the Democrats play. And you're still stuck in this 1984 Ronald Reagan mentality where you're going to come out and tell people the way it is. By the way, highly anti-gun. Ronnie Ray Gun was but you're going to come out and you're going to you're gonna tell it like it is, and they just turn it and use it against you. So don't tell it like it is. If anyone's listening, start lying, not to your base, but whenever you're on camera, lie through your teeth. Tell them incrementalism, same thing. We're not going to do that, and then let the Democrats. You ever see that meme first time when James Franco was being hung, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then I've been seeing a lot of Democrats lately, by the way, after October 7th going, oh, I can't believe this is crazy. And all the, madness with the hardcore left in this country. I'm like, oh, first time.
Yeah.
So really quick, talking about that Ramaswamy clip, since we're going to mention it.
Yeah.
Let me turn to you. Please make your case. Why would you
love him?
Why should you be the nominee and not the former president?
I think there's something deeper going on in the Republican Party here, and I am upset about what happened last night. We've become a party of losers at the end of the day. It was a cancer in the Republican establishment. Let's speak the truth. I mean, since Ronna McDaniel took over as chairwoman of the RNC in 2017, we have lost 2018, 2020, 2022, no red wave that never came. We got trounced last night in 2023. And I think that we have to have accountability in our party. For that matter, Ron, if you want to come on stage tonight, you want to look the GOP voters in the eye and tell them you resign, I will yield my time to you. And frankly, look, the people there cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, we've got Kristen Welker here, you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Yeah, buddy.
This is how we get our country back.
Look at the way she's smiling.
We need accountability.
Such a
because
pig.
This media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to
That's how we unite
Governor
this
Christie.
country.
Mr. Ramaswamy, as you're making the best point
Let
ever
me turn
made.
to the
Thanks
fat
for
pig.
watching. Stay.
No thanks. And I love how they go to like Governor Christie, fucking fat pig motherfucker. He's disgusting. Fucking
Dude, that
waddles
was
like a
that
penguin.
was. You see, that's like what we would say is
Mega
too
base.
honest, right? Like the guy was dead ass, dead on, 1000%, like calling it like it is. Okay, and that kind of talk is going to get him thrown under the J6 prison. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what they have the power
Cinder
to do
blocks
right
to his
now.
shoes.
Not that he shouldn't say it. God bless him. I'm really proud of him. He knows he's not going to be president. He's running for vice president at very best. At very best.
I
He's
think
probably
running
running.
for senator one day.
Right, or like a cabinet position for Trump, and then
I would like to see
that.
Ramaswamy as vice president. I think that would be the best outcome.
He's the best outcome for sure, because while Trump is doing Trump things, he could be screaming and yelling at like everyone. Like he could be the one afuera throwing out the
Or
minister.
Ramaswamy as
You know,
press secretary. I'd like that as well.
yeah, dude, absolutely. But the point is, that's all good and that's all well. But you know what happened to him the day after that debate? Nikki Haley wins GOP debate while Vivek Ramaswamy embarrasses himself. That's what they wrote.
Yeah.
Is that an embarrassing, Brett? Is that an embarrassing performance? I'll wait.
That was an impressive performance. A man saying what we're all thinking.
Precisely. Right. So then you had, as he so aptly put that night, Dick Cheney in heels, aka what's her face?
Nikki Haley.
Yeah, Nikki Haley over there. Dick Cheney in heels, telling us, how
we need for Ukraine.
We have to fight in Ukraine, wars that are completely lost, according to all the experts, and on top of it, that we have to have a completely transparent
social media system.
Where
that's insane. So if you view it from a very basic sense, like as a
sure,
it's like, okay, people won't just say stuff online, from the idea of
sure,
and especially for I think that works for older people. No, not no offense, Pete, but
but if
of older generations where the internet didn't exist, and when you said something, you had to own it. Right now, that doesn't exist. So a lot of people see that on its first glance and be like, oh, well, people have to own what they say. But also, the federal government knows everything you do now, even more than they already do.
But who cares if they knew, right? I don't want them to know. But who cares if they knew if they didn't do anything, right? Like, if they would never do anything, they wouldn't even think to do anything. But they're taking that shit and running with it. NDAA, Patriot Act, Obama, by the way, right?
And then Obama again.
And they're just doing shit, like throwing people under the fucking prison, like I had said prior, right? And yeah, we have something to be completely freaked out by now.
I think that there's a massive disconnect in both parties, but right now in the Democrat Party, and it's why we're going to win the culture war, and why we are in a winning position, why people are starting to get mega based, is because I have friends who are liberal and who are Democrat, and we get along and we have a lot in common, and a lot of them are pro-gun.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked them to point to a Democrat politician who represents them or represents Democrats who feels the same way they do about guns. And that's the huge disconnect. This is why gun ownership is becoming a big deal. It's because now we have all these Democrats who are gun owners and who understand the Second Amendment and who support it, and they have no representation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of them are crossing the line, because they're realizing that without the Second Amendment, without the ability to protect ourselves, and without the ability to fight back against a tyrannical government, no matter what side it's on, we have no rights. It starts and ends there. So if, Democrats cannot get on board, Democrat politicians can't get on board with any kind of gun ownership at all, then they're going to lose big time.
God willing. I just feel like
if they don't cheat.
Yeah, that's the whole other thing. Like, I mean, that's how deep, like, how many issues have we touched on just tonight alone? And we haven't even touched on them all. Reaffirming the American people that their vote will actually count, because now the way they're doing it, right, is if let's just say, well, of course, all of us thought that the election was fair and, completely honest. But let's just say for some people who thought the election wasn't honest, and
the extremists,
now they use their media hound dogs to categorize you so that by the time that information gets out to the smooth brains that are out there, and you're at Thanksgiving dinner with someone, they're like, you're not one of these J6 extremists, are you? Well, I don't know. I just watched all the J6 footage, and well, this didn't happen, that happened, this happened. There was dudes with there was a piece of footage they were screaming, yeah, we're got to get out there. We're all undercover as Antifa. Oh, there. That's what they literally said. We're all undercover as Antifa. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I thought I couldn't believe it. I knew.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, it's just there. It's on camera. And like, just like COVID, man, now like you're getting, you still see people with masks, but they're just the fucking weirdos that were going to wear them anyway. And like the rest of us, right. Like, but like now that we all know it's total horse shit on every freaking level, who's going to go and lock themselves down again? Who's going to shut their business down again? Who's going to get voted for if they say that person should do something like that?
Yep. And what I love is I would hope that we've reached a point where, and I'm by no means an incredibly religious person. That being said, who in the hell is going to let anybody tell them they can't go to church? Because the amount of people that complied with that was heartbreaking for me.
That like told people to do it.
It's like I am heartbroken, and police officers showing up and enforcing it, saying you can't be in this gym and be healthy. You can't be in this church and practice your First Amendment rights. You can't do this. I would hope now we have reached a point where they would say, what are you going to do to stop all of us?
Martyrs made the church.
Yep.
I'm religious, so I will say this. Martyrs made the fucking church, okay? People were hung upside down. St. Peter was hung upside down on a cross. And all the disciples, all the 12 disciples were crucified and murdered in the most worst ways. They were the bedrock of the foundation of the church that was made. And yet pastors and priests and whoever it was across this damn country shut their doors to the people at a time when we needed them the most.
Yeah.
Those
the
people
most.
They should no longer have any place in any religious society.
No.
Well, I would hope that they have seen the wrong in their ways.
That's right.
And that they can make things right next time. And I think that everybody was scared. They were driven by fear, which is understandable. Nothing like this has happened in a very long time. It's one of those things where you look at your grandparents, they never went through anything like this either. It would have been their grandparents that went through something like this.
Yeah.
But everybody was driven by fear, thinking that there was some disease that if they got it, it would turn them into a zombie and they would like implode and die a horribly painful death.
On remdesivir, on a ventilator. That's how they would implode and die.
Exactly. So I
understood the vaccines.
Exactly. So I understand the fear, but I hope that now that the facts have come out, people can see how they were bamboozled. And I'm hoping that they will never let that happen again. And,
you're right.
It's yeah, it's time to stand up.
Yes. You're right. I just want to add to that real quick before you go, Midas. There, I just wanted to add that that old Bushism, right? Fool me once, you can't fool me again. Well, I really just honestly, like, I really do hope that that's the case this time, because like you said, since 1918, we haven't seen anything like this, right? And I'm really thinking now that people are going to tell people to pound sand, and rightfully so. So let's cross our fingers, because I think we've learned a little something.
Yes, and I think there is a level of, okay, maybe some people can learn from this. But at the same time, and I know this sounds harsh, at the same time, anyone who complied with this to such an extent, pastors that shut down their churches and all of this stuff,
fuck them.
They should be treated as not pariahs, but like, that friend that kind of like bit you in the ass once. Like, he's still your friend, but you also kind of watch him really vigilantly, and like he doesn't. You never hang out with him on his own. You only invite him to like the group functions. Everyone kind of keeps an eye on him. That's how we need to treat these people. They need to know that they need to be treated how they deserve. They need to be not like in like a negative way of like, oh, fuck them, but more of, no, we need to watch these people very closely, because they could very easily do this again. They could very easily fall to this level that they did again.
They're the ones that ratted out Anne Frank, bro. They're the ones.
Absolutely. Oh, now they want to get rid of like the Anne Frank Museum or something in Germany.
Because
Anne Frank is too controversial.
Is it Germany? I thought it was Senegal North. Anyways,
but the point is, these
Algeria
people can do it again and again and again, because it's in their very nature. People can change, but you have to root out the negative, the demons within you.
Damn right.
And change your nature, right? We all have our own sins, our own faults, our own issues, but it's like the average violent criminal. The recidivism rate is insane. In fact, if you look, murder is actually the crime that people recommit the least. The recidivism rate of murder is the lowest of any other crime. But majority when it comes to crime, thieves, robbers, rapists, they do it constantly. It's like when someone's convicted of being a pedophile and we know where they are, we put a fucking ankle bracelet on them so that we know where they are at all times. We fucking check on them every month. That's the way we need to treat these people until they prove otherwise.
You should put more than an ankle bracelet on a pedophile. Should put a bullet in their head.
What?
I like fire, but
I said they should be prosecuted to the full extent
of the furnace. But
the
anyway,
wood chipper.
Does the word street justice ring a bell?
Where's the revolver, Brett? I need it for the street justice.
Ah, there it is. Yes,
there's the street
thumb
justice.
approves.
This is airsoft. This is airsoft.
Airsoft.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So
we need to treat these people like such. We can bring them back into our lives. I'm not saying treat them like pariahs, but you need to watch them. The priests, the cops, the military, anyone who bend the knee to this to such an extent, you need to watch them like they are the snake in the garden, and they are ready to trick you once again into eating the poisonous fruit.
Yeah. So okay. So with that being said, right? Like, where do we go from here? I mean, I will say that I think that we've kind of outlined it, and I think that people are waking up a little bit. I think that people are kind of on edge for next year, and I think that people are ready to I think a lot of people, especially out my way, we have a lot of Jewish folks. I got a lot of Jewish family, right? Who would have never voted for Trump, right? Now they're like, after October.
One person finally brought peace. So speaking of Trump and Biden, there's a clip I want to play. I couldn't find the original clip. I'm taking the clip from the Michael Knowles show.
President of the United States.
But
when I was a kid,
Joe Rogan experience.
Oh yeah, this is.
You can have a Republican friend. Like it was no big deal.
Yes.
It's no big deal. Like, oh, Bobby likes George Bush. Who cares? Who gives a f? You were a supporter of Bill Clinton. He liked George Bush. Nobody cared. Nobody you. You know, it wasn't like you're a Nazi. Like I'm a Nazi. I just want lower taxes.
What the f are you talking about?
How did I become a Nazi?
Dude, it's the craziest thing. I have friends who support Trump. I have friends who support Biden. I have friends.
Do you really have friends who support Biden?
I do. Come on. No. Here's what I do. I have friends. Thank you. That's a good check because that's important. This is important context.
They support the Democratic Party.
I have friends who are loyal to the party.
Yes.
No, devastating.
So,
but by the way, fuck
no
you, Brock. If you are watching this by some weird fucking, you like fell asleep watching YouTube, go fuck yourself on every fucking level. You fucking Biden supporting piece of shit. This is a guy who's like, oh, he's come around. Okay, I get it. We have to support our friends who have come around. But don't forget how much this motherfucker a few years back was a part of the machine that got us to exactly where the fuck we were today. When guys like us were like, oh my God, do you see this fucking shill? Do you see this shill? So I won't forget Bill Maher now is suddenly a darling of the right because he's saying the right words and he somehow fucking saved his career. You know what I mean? And even he's waking up to it. Fuck you, motherfucker. You're the one who was like, oh, you don't want to wear your mask and you don't want to get the Fauci ouchie, he called it. Remember that shit? Like, bro, we can't fucking forget that either. And keep your eye out is exactly what might have said it prior. I couldn't agree fucking more, man. Fuck these guys, dude.
Oh, yeah. Remember when The Rock came out and supported Biden? And like, how many Biden votes was The Rock responsible for?
Right.
And it's one of those things where I could believe what he said. If he came out and he was like, you know what? I did that video. It was wrong. I was wrong. Biden's the wrong.
They gave me $10 million bucks. So I made the video.
Exactly.
Cool. If he did that, honest to God, I swear to you, OG FR, as the kids might say. I'm going for real. I would be like, I respect that man. You know, I had a friend recently, the day I was nearly carjacked, actually. I was so fucking stressed out that day. I was driving home and I got a text from a good friend of mine. Now he's very, 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 very well-to-do, lives in a gated community in a beautiful area of Florida, multi-millionaire, sold his business, very retired in his 40s. I love him to death.
Adopt children.
I love him to death. I love his family. His wife and my wife are best friends. And he's like a close friend of mine. I love him. he and I have gone back and forth for years because he's like, Pete, your whole thing with Trump, or your whole thing that the world's going to go crazy. Da, 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 da. He's also Jewish, right? So let me explain. So I get a text from him the other day that says, man, I just wanted to say, after all these years of you and I going back and forth, I really, truly stand corrected. You were right about having to defend your own family and no one is coming. And you were right about this and right about that. And like, I just wanted to say that I apologize he's the only one out of all the people I know who are in that category. And I was just like, bro, first and foremost, my response was, I really appreciate what you just said and what it must have took to say it. But honestly, I don't want to be fucking right. I want to be the wrong one. I want to be the crazy uncle. And like, maybe I come around one day to the other point of view because I'm crazy. But
I know you want to be the conspiracy theorist. You want all the things you know to be true to be wrong. I don't want to know all the things I know. Like this is
right.
I don't want
to be a conspiracy
I want it
theorist.
to be wrong.
Right.
I want it to be wrong what the government's doing. I want it to be wrong with the media. I want it to all be incorrect. And in reality, everyone has good intentions. But it's not true. It's not true. And it's terrifying when you feel like you feel so alone.
Yes.
Because it seems like everyone else believes the insanity and you're the crazy person for not believing it.
So this guy wrote that and I told him that, Midas, right? I said like, bro, like I really don't want this from you. But I appreciate it. And thank you. But now is the time to put all that shit away, go to the store, pick up the gun, or and after you do, immediately go to your local range, start training today. Do the old school thing, your stance, you're lining up the sights, get it on target, and then start moving and shooting. Then start carrying the fucking thing every day. Then get an AR, then do this, then do that, right? Like, I was like, this is what we need out of you right now. You're a Jewish dude. You can't afford not to, right? We have Hamas in America right now. God knows what coming across the border. I was like, please tell me you're on
the
that.
Canadian border.
Tell me what the fuck you're up to. Like, tell me that's what you're fucking doing, and then we're square, we're even Steven. You know what I mean?
It's just that the American government and politicians need to be very, very careful. Things are extremely volatile. We are hitting the point where patient men are losing their patience, evidenced by the American lawyer in Panama that iced the climate change activists that were blocking the road. Patient men are losing their patience. So
I don't advocate that, by the way.
No.
Was it morally wrong? Yes, but I think there was a lot of people who almost like. There's a party that's like. It feels good. Like,
it's cathartic, right? And
it's cathartic to see, like, okay, finally someone's stood up. It's terrible. It's awful the way they did.
It's awful.
But it's like finally, it's like when you see the videos of like in Europe where they like drag the protesters off the road or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's like, oh, like you don't really feel bad for them.
We're hitting the point of Charles Bronson in Death Wish. That's where patient men are headed in the next few years. This was the first straw. So I really hope that I have faith that things will turn around. The pendulum will swing to the right for a while so that things can cool down. Because that's how things have always happened in history, at least in the United States, is the pendulum swings left, the pendulum swings right. It just seems like the pendulum swings further each time. And the concern is, when is the pendulum going to break? When's it going to snap?
I think we're getting very, very close. I think.
Yep. That's why
I think it's either going to break or it's going to swing so hard it's going to hit someone right in the face.
Yep.
I think the pendulum's. I've been telling my wife, like, this is it next year. Like, I think the pendulum will snap next year.
Because no matter who wins, there's gonna be problems, right? If Trump wins, if anyone but Biden or Newsom or whatever the Democrat is wins, and I think it has to be Biden at this point, because I think certain states have gone past their point of changing who their thing is,
unless something happens to him.
Take a look at this.
I think we're gonna have.
There you go. That's a lot of guys right now. They're like, I don't want to fucking do this. Why the fuck is this happening?
And that's the thing is, but if Trump wins, we're gonna see. I mean, the first time Trump won, we saw riots and stuff in the streets, right?
Mm-hmm.
People forget about that. People forgot about the May 29th insurrection, right?
Yeah,
that was the first insurrection. Right,
yeah.
Churches burned to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds of police officers injured.
70.
You're not allowed to talk about that, though.
That never happened.
Yeah.
That
he
is
had to be moved to the bunker, and they made
Yeah.
fun of him in public on public record.
Mhm.
On public record, instead of saying, "Oh my God," they tried to overtake the White House.
But
so
oh
the
no, some
President of
people
these United
walked
States-
into the Capitol building. That's insane.
But- no, but-
Alexandria
but the
Ocasio-Cortez,
big-
her life was threatened.
I know we're running along, but real quick, think about how wild the media is right now. Okay, this is why I had to stop being in the media, like even as a cameraman who had never written a story a day in his life. The story wasn't, oh my God, they tried to bust into the White House and kill the sitting president of the United States. So the president had to be moved to the bunker in order to save him from a potential death threat from American extremists,
From
right?
actual
Which is
terrorists.
what the story was. In truth, the story was, ha ha ha, the president ran down to his bunker because of mostly peaceful protesters.
Yep.
Man, I wish I could pull the death wish thing up again, because that's
So this is, I think we need to move forward, right? And I think what we'll always do. I pose a question to each of us, and I'll answer it first.
Yeah.
How do we begin to make things better? I think it's by going and educating someone, going and talking, and this a lot of times this has been my solution, but I think it is the solution is going out, and whether it's a friend, a family member, someone who might be on the fence, go to them and bring things to them in a palatable way. You can't just go, the world's gonna end, we're all gonna die. That's not gonna get you anywhere. But if you go and you say, hey man, look at this, look at that, look at this, just show them, just simply show them things on an unbiased, objective level, not a subjective level. And I think we got to change the hearts and minds. And I think we slowly are, but we have to wake people up to pay attention, because you have, like The Rock said, all his friends who they're not Biden supporters, they're loyal to the party. And when they realize their party's not loyal to them, they'll start coming around. So so that's my question. What do we do to bring people to the light? Pete.
Exactly what you said. And I'm going to add on to that. Put yourself into it, bring some time out, spend some time out there, educate yourself, obviously, as to who you're voting for. They're all pretty shitty choices, but pick the least shitty one. At least be if you have to be a one issue voter, like in many cases, I have to be that in New York. I have to say, like, oh, who's the guy who's just not going to fuck with my guns? Right, like, because that they may be pro-life or pro-choice or whatever, rather, but he's not going to fuck with the guns. Okay, cool. I'll get to the pro-choice stuff, but first things first, I can't be disarmed.
Yep.
Right. And then the other thing is to, like, back to the John Adams quote that I said. I have gotten very, very, very involved in my local church. I go every single Sunday. I was there today. And I'm very involved at the church, and I think that bringing a little bit of that, like, real basic morality back into your life. You don't have to go full on Jesus or full on whatever. Just bring some level of spirituality and belief and a little bit of morality into your day. And believe me, and raise your kids with it if you have children. And I'm going to tell you, man, that is life-changing stuff right there, because then all the stuff that the founders wrote starts to become much more evident as to why it's so important. Oh yeah, there it is right there. Number 2, I have my right to defend my life as it is in the Bible, right? Like, same thing right there. And you start making these kind of like, like, oh wow, I can live, free the way God intended. So long and short, get involved on a day-to-day basis.
Brett.
I would say art and culture to appeal to a wider audience and younger generation. So it's like, that's the whole reason I started my YouTube channel, and it's really cool that it's taking off, because this is kind of like my first step in outreach. But I would say calling out to artists, that would be writers, painters, filmmakers, get out there and make your, I'm not even going to say conservative content, make your common sense content. And now is your chance, because movies and television are worse than they've ever been. So now is your opportunity to make actual good stories with core values that are important to living a good and free life. Do that. If you're not an artistic person, participate, support the people who are doing that. Support the people on TikTok. I know that's a Chinese app, but you know what? A lot of kids are looking at it. support the people, make those posts go viral that you like, make that content go viral, engage on a cultural level, because we need this younger generation, and we need the people who are apolitical to care more about politics that affect their day-to-day lives.
Well, I think it's interesting. When I read your books, it's almost like you predicted what happened. Obviously, it's a little. If you guys haven't read Brett's books, Countdown to Dawn and Armed Instinct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely go check those out on Amazon. They are great little short reads. Only ride his dick so hard today, but the point is, it's funny. Essentially, and I don't want to. I don't. Would it be a spoiler to mention the vaccine thing?
No.
Okay, so a big part of the story is essentially there's this big pandemic, and then everyone gets addicted to the vaccines, and it's like an opiate essentially, and everyone has to take the vaccines to basically keep living. And when I was like, Brett, like you wrote this based on COVID, because I think I read this like last year. He said them.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I wrote this before COVID, like a year before COVID. And I'm like, okay. Like, it's interesting how predictable everything was in a way. Either Brett's a soothsayer, or and my other theory,
Swami.
what happened was so predictable and so easy that anyone could have thought of it. Anyone could have done it. And that's just something to think about, something I'll leave everyone with. But go out there, right? Make art, be part of the culture, educate your friends, educate your families, but do it in a palatable, sensible, rational way. Don't come off as a conspiracy theorist, and get involved in your community. Like Pete said, be involved in your community, know about who your local electors are, who the local people in your elections are, because if you don't know what's going on around you, how do you expect anyone else to know? Otherwise, guys, subscribe. We are trying to record new podcast episodes, and yeah, so subscribe and stay tuned, and thumbs up.